Okay, so welcome back, and this is where we left off. So we have the arrows displaying, and that is coming from the data that's being passed into the component. And what we were working on was getting the text to display, and I was having trouble getting it to even show up, and so I decided to end the video for the last one. And so now we're going to start with that. Okay, so I did some debugging offline because me fiddling around with learning how learning how SVGs really work, I figured was not going to be super fun. I figured out that this number right here is actually superfluous and is what is causing the error in the console. So we're going to get rid of that and see. Now the arrows look the same, right? And there's no errors logging in the console. Arrows, errors. Those two words sound very similar. Okay, and so then what we need to do, and we're gonna just double check to make sure that they look good left or right. So I'm gonna say orientation equal to left, and then I'll just say color equals 1, tone equals 2, just for debugging purposes. Those aren't being used yet, but we will use them. Okay, so when they're left, they look right, they look good, and then if I turn them to being right-facing arrows, then they also look good. Cool. So now what we want to do is we want to display the text. So we're going to add a new element here that is a text element. Like that. And this we're going to add, we're going to need to put a transform on it. And this is basically it just moves it to where you can see it. And so we're going to just do a translate to 2200, which is the beginning of the first arrow. Okay, and so now you can kind of see it. It's very small, so we need to make it bigger. So font size equals, we'll make it really big so you can really see it. Oh, and it's the wrong color. And then so we're going to color, or actually in SVG, text is fill. Fill equals colors dot pale yellow. Okay, so now we have these really big numbers. Perfect. Okay, so what we want is we don't want them all to show up in the same place, right? Right now, you can't see it, but there's actually 4 copies of these numbers, 1 and 2. And if I go in here and I click on it, I can see like there's one here, there's one here. They're all in the same place because they all have this exact same transform value, or the same transform translate. But we don't want them to have that. We want them to be like on top of each arrow, right? So similar to how we did this for the path, like the path stroke here, where I have these two data structures that have the transform, like the path for each of the arrows. We're going to do that for the text. So we're going to have a text transforms object, and then we're going to have the same keys: upper left, lower left, upper right, lower right. And we're going to like take this, and I'll put that here. Okay, and then this transform, we're going to turn this into JSX, so it is going to be text transforms at location. So now we just need to put in transforms for all of them. Okay, so the upper left is right now at 2200, which is the same, it's the place that the upper left arrow starts. And so I'm actually going to change the font size. Yeah, we'll start with that. And then, so this one would be translate 2400, 400, not 4000. And then we'll do, just to start out, we're going to do the same as the start of the arrows, right? So 720, 200, and then 720, 400. Okay, and that looks okay right now, but the text is way too big, so we're going to turn this down. I just made it big so we could absolutely see it. I think 2 EM is a more reasonable size for it, and now we can see that it's kind of in the same place as the arrow. And the reason for that is that the translate location is this bottom right corner, which is like the exact same place as the start of the arrow. So we want to kind of move it up a bit, right? Let's try 180. And then this one would be 380, 180, and 380. It looks better. I think it needs to go over to the right a little bit. So let's try 30, 730. Cool, that looks good. I think that looks great, actually. And what I'm going to do now is I'm actually going to do, so you can see how this one, all of these are interpolated strings. So we're going to actually, we're going to turn all of the text transforms into interpolated strings as well. So it's easier to, you don't have to change the number in every place. So I'm just going to have text offset equals to 10. That should be the text X offset, and then text Y offset equals to 30, right? Or 20. Yeah, 20. Okay. So we're going to turn these into interpolated strings, and instead of 30, this is going to be left X plus text X offset, and then upper Y minus text Y offset. And then we'll just check to see that one's in the same place. Okay, so we can go and we can do the rest of them. Do this all at the same time. Not sure if that actually saves any time, but sometimes you want to just be fancy. Okay, so this one is going to be left X plus text X offset, and then this one's going to be lower Y minus text Y offset. Okay, and then this one is going to be right X plus text X offset, and then oh, you know what? I have these mixed up. Right. Upper right. Okay. So the reason they go in this order, upper left, lower right, upper right, is because that's the order that the variables are read and the order that they kind of that they flow in human design. So I'm keeping them in that order so that it doesn't mess me up. Okay, so the lower right is going to be lower Y minus text Y offset, and then the upper right is going to be upper Y minus text Y offset. Okay, now let's go and see. They all look like they're in the same place. So that's great. And now if we wanted to change the offset, so let's say I want it to be a little higher, right? A little give a little more vertical space. So then I could just go and I could change this to 30 and see now I've got a little more vertical space, right? I liked it at 20. I think 20 was good, but now it's all controlled within a single variable instead of having to change it in 4 places. Okay, so now that's what we came here to do. And then the other thing I want to do is I'm going to put all of these borders, excuse me, under the control of a single flag within each file. And there aren't any borders in the variables file. There's actually no styles in the variables file because it's all SVG. So we're going to go into files like body graph and charts where I have this big styles object and I have these borders. And if you remember in the last video, I was going through and I was just like commenting and uncommenting these every time I wanted to turn the borders on. And so what I can do, because this is JavaScript, this is CSS-in-JS and not pure CSS, I can do a const debug equals false. Okay? And then I go in here and in the border, where the border is, right, I can go debug question mark and then otherwise none, right? I'm going to delete that dead one. So now all of the borders, all of the debug borders that were in that file are controlled by a single variable. So if I want to turn them on, set it to true. Boom, right? Work smarter, not harder. Okay, so the other ones where we have that is the position list file. That's right here. So set debug to false, and then we have a border here. Oh, we have these that are not even turned on, and so we're going to turn this on. You can see that it's like all of the elements inside of there. And so I'm going to actually go and do the same thing here with these 4 borders as I did on the other file. Debug question mark, that, otherwise none. Okay. And now they're gone. See? And then I think there's only a couple more. So there's a blue one around the whole app. And then let me go into like mobile mode and make sure, yeah, there's none that popped up. So I think we just need to go into the charts page here. Yep. Okay. So const debug equals false. And here debug question mark that. And if this isn't familiar to you, this syntax right here, this is called the ternary operator. It's in JavaScript, a lot of other languages, and basically it's just like, and it's basically an inline. It's syntactical sugar for an inline if-else statement. So you have a Boolean, a conditional here, and if this is true, then the first thing is going to be executed, and if it's false, then the second thing is going to be executed. It's really just like a shorthand way of doing if-else. Okay, and now we have no border. Cool. And then the only other thing we have to do before we, you know what? We could also do that for here. So we could do, well, it really should be an environment variable. So I'm just gonna keep this the way it is. And now we have our form, and this is what we're going to deploy. So I think that is what I wanted to do today. That was a quick one. I'm just going to check my diffs here. And now I've got basically my arrows. Okay. And I'm just going to commit this. Update variable component to show color and tone. And then merge it back into main. Push it up to GitHub, and then I am going to deploy I'm going to deploy the changes to the front end, which I haven't done yet. So we have a few minutes. So I will see. We'll see if it works. And if it doesn't work, then we can debug it. So yeah, this is the version that's deployed out on the interwebs. I'm just going to reload it. It's still showing the same. It hasn't updated over here. I'm going to keep an eye on my terminal window here. And once it has finished, then I will go over and test it in the live deployed version and see if we have any bugs. Because sometimes bugs don't show up until you're in prod. Everybody tests in prod. Some people also just test it in other environments. Okay. Beep, boop, boop, beep, boop, boop. Cool. Yeah. There it is. Got the variable arrow. The only other thing that we have to do on this screen is that we're not actually displaying the information anywhere here about like what do these mean. And I think the way I'm going to do that, and I'm going to do that in a different video because I don't have an hour to sit here and code right now. But I think I'm going to add just another tab to this component down here that is variables, and then it'll just have all of the meanings of these color and tone. Oh, you know what I just noticed? We do have a bug. Okay, cool. Yeah, that's fun. Okay. What I still have these debug facilities in here, right? So it was always just displaying all right arrows with the color 1, tone 2 instead of the actual value. So we just fix that really quick. It's just this line here, and actually we probably don't. This doesn't matter, but we don't need type and subtype in here because we're not going to display that information in this component. We're going to display that in in the detail pane here with the definition of the channels and the type. But again, I only have 10 more minutes before I have a work meeting, so I am not going to do that right now. Okay, now it's working. And the positioning, so I should have looked at this with the left arrow. I don't love this being so close, I think we might want to just scoot the we'll scoot the arrows or scoot the text over a few pixels to the right, but that we have the we have this text X offset. So I'm just going to make this like 15, right? And then I'm going to go back over to this for local. Yeah, and so that looks a little nicer, right? It's not so up in the grill, so to speak. But yeah, I'm not going to bother committing and deploying that right now on the video because we've already seen how to do that. So I think that is where I'm going to stop this one for now. In the next video, we will display the variables information at the bottom of the chart page. Yay, thanks for joining me. Have a good day.